This is part 2 of the story that I'm putting up. So meanwhile, while that happening, I was having a wonderful time with Aaron. We were just having so much fun, just being newlyweds and having fun together, just experiencing life together. And we had a 5-year plan, and kids were all the way at the end of the 5 years. I really clung to some feminist ideals and some I'm not going to be like my mom ideals, and I was just determined that I was just not going to be schlepping kids around and drop out of college, you know. And about a year into our marriage, all that changed. I had this overwhelming, absolutely irrational, and completely unexplainable desire to have a child. I don't know why I felt that way. It went against all of my dreams, but instead of feeling like I was giving up on my dreams, I found myself rationalizing how it could all be done, how I could be a good mom and have a career and have a fun romantic relationship with Aaron. Then I found myself even wanting it and got to the point where I felt lonely and incomplete without it. And I couldn't shake this feeling. I prayed that it would go away and stop distracting me, but the desire kept growing. At first, my husband and I were divided on this issue. He didn't feel like he could provide the kind of life that he wanted for his potential kids and me, and he didn't want me to give up on my dreams. The more we talked about this and the more we thought about it, the more we started wanting the same thing, and we decided to wait about 6 months before we would start trying. So I quit using the pill around that same time, which was April 2008. And my doctor said that it would be wise to give myself a couple months for my periods to get back to normal and just to get the hormones of the pill out of my system and this and that. So in April 2008, I quit using the pill. Well, in June 2008, Aaron and I went on vacation in Myrtle Beach for about a week. My period was late, and I thought that it might just be from just the stress of, you know, taking off work and packing and driving and then just, I don't know, adjusting to being off the pill. So I didn't worry about it. And when I was 5 days late, I decided, like, this isn't normal, something's going on. So I decided to take a pregnancy test just to be sure. So I bought a 2-pack of first response tests and took the first one that night. It was a faint positive, but Aaron didn't see it, or maybe he didn't want to see it, I'm not really sure. So I was really certain about it, so I decided to take the other test the following day when we got home. So when we got home, I used the second test. It was late in the afternoon. I even took an egg timer in the bathroom with me, and I read the directions and followed them precisely. Well, I took the test, and I could see 2 pink lines the moment that the urine worked all the way across the screen. And the 2 lines got darker and darker until they were the same color as each other. And I thought, aha, like, I knew that was a positive last night, and I was excited for about 2 seconds, and then I felt scared, like, oh my gosh, what did we do? And Aaron was freaking out a little, so we went to Walgreens, and we bought a digital test, and that one also read positive across the screen. Well, all that night I was excited. I went out and bought the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, and got cracking on that. And also just from being exuberantly excited, which I was, I went from being excited to scared to excited again. And you know, I started thinking about baby names and just kind of daydreaming about, like, the fun things that we'd be able to do as a family. Well, the next morning I went to the doctor for a pregnancy test there to confirm, and they drew blood and told me to call back later that afternoon. While I was waiting on my results, I even went to a baby consignment shop and I bought a little onesie, and I should never have let myself get that excited, but I did. When I called back that afternoon to get the results, I fully expected to hear, like, congratulations, or yes, you're pregnant, we need to set up an appointment with your OB, and what they told me stunned me. I called and I asked, and the lady was just like, no, you're not pregnant. And that's the way she said it. And she was just, it was a really snitty tone and completely incompassionate, because I had taken a Ziploc bag with the 2 of the 3 tests in it, the digital and the second first response test that I took. And I showed them. And they were just like, yeah, you probably, I would just need to confirm it. But for her to just say that over the phone, it just really crushed me. I asked them if they were sure, and they told me that their tests were more reliable than the 3 that I had taken in the 2 days before. It was just, it was such a hard day for me. It was harder than the fact, wait, that's not what I was trying to say. I was trying to read it and say something at the time, but what I meant to say, and what was even harder than that, was the fact that Aaron was kind of relieved, and started like rethinking, you know, this decision that we had made together, and it kind of hurt me, because he would never intentionally hurt me, and I know that, but you know, he was relieved that they said I wasn't, and he was just like, Jen, I think we shouldn't be doing this right now, and it was just really hard. And so I heard so many people say that, you know, you just know when you are, that that's a woman's intuition. Well, I have more than that. You know, I had 3 positive pregnancy tests, a week late period, and I didn't have any cramps or PMS symptoms like I usually did at all during that week or the week before that. And then to top all that off, when I got my period, it was like disgustingly clotty and chunky, and it lasted for about 10 days. And then a month later, I had to go in for my annual pelvic exam, and I told them that I was having that pain again, and so they did another ultrasound, and when they printed off the pictures and brought it back in, 2 of the nurses commented that like my uterus looked really big for someone who had never been pregnant or had a baby. So it was just like further confirmation that I really was. And but at the same time, I was like, well, I never saw an ultrasound picture, I never saw it, and I'm just gonna assume that I wasn't, that it was just a fluke. And I really tried to just to bury that, and I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to believe it at all. And so I just decided to not let myself get too upset over it, and not to let myself think of it very much. And I just kind of figured, like, what will knowing get me? You know, we'll just keep trying. And in a few months, this won't even be that big of a deal. So until this video, only about 5 people in my life had known about this. I didn't want to get anyone's pity or judgment. I didn't want anyone telling me that I had done wrong or giving me unwelcome advice. I just didn't want anyone to know. I wanted to keep it to myself and just forget about it. I think I still have a couple minutes left on this video. So we tried and tried for months. I told 3 friends. One of them told me that we were ruining our lives and immediately distanced herself from us. One accused me of being jealous of her son and distanced herself from us. And then one had the opposite reaction, but it was just as bad. She got really excited and became too overly involved in the process. She gave plenty of unsolicited advice, and then told me how we should raise this hypothetical child and this and that, and she just became really clingy and obnoxious, and it became all she ever wanted to talk about. And she would even say, like, okay, when I would call her, she would answer the phone, and instead of saying like, hey, what's up, or hello, you know, she would say, hey, are you pregnant yet? And you know, is that what you called to tell me? And it was like every time she would answer my phone calls. So we learned our lesson, and we told no one else. We kept it to ourselves, and I suffered alone, because Aaron didn't really want to talk about it very much. Every month I spent money on ovulation prediction tests and early pregnancy tests, and I bought pre-seed and basal thermometers, and I read books, discussion boards, blogs, and like baby websites, and just different things about pregnancy and babies, because I was thinking this was going to happen eventually, you know, sometime in the next couple months, and I was just being really hopeful. And looking back, I can see how doing all that really only made the situation harder. 9 minutes, okay. So it's hard to explain, but somehow, 5 months into trying to get pregnant, and after having that miscarriage, I just kind of knew it just wasn't going to happen. It was around Christmas 2008, and I just was like, it's not going to happen. I know it's not. And I don't think that that was me being negative or just being down about it. It really just, I had this intuition that it wasn't going to happen. I didn't want to believe it. So meanwhile, thanks to Facebook, I was constantly just bombarded with other people's pregnancy announcements and ultrasound pictures, you know, unplanned babies, oops babies, unwanted babies, and everyone seemed to have a way of talking about their miracle babies that they had conceived on accident. And it was just a lot to handle. I tried to be happy for them, but really I wasn't, because I couldn't get over how much I was hurting over not being able to. I got to a point of being very jealous. It got so bad that one day I ran into an old friend and she told me that she was pregnant, and I just started crying right in front of her. I lied and told her I was happy for her, but really I was just feeling sorry for myself. A few days later, I sent an email to her just to try to explain myself, and I didn't tell her about the miscarriage, but I told her that we had been trying for over a year at that point. Well, what did she do? She tried to fix me. She told me that she and her husband had been trying to get pregnant for 5 months. And she also told me about her miscarriage. She told me that one day she just had an inkling that she was pregnant, and then that night, before she could take a test or go to the doctor, she got her period, and she sat there and called that a miscarriage. Like, she never had any proof that she was pregnant. Her period came on time. It wasn't a miscarriage, but she wanted to tell me that, like, she understood how I was feeling, and she wanted to tell me that she understood it. And then, to add insult to injury, she told me, well, maybe one day when you have better jobs and a bigger house, you know, God will let that happen for you. And it was just really insulting and judgmental. And let's see, I'm at 12 minutes. I'm going to stop this one and go on to part 3.